Hey, what's going on, guys? If you're currently holding Bitcoin, relax. I got good news right around the corner. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell just made a very powerful statement earlier this week. Coinbase's direct listing is going to be released later next month. And if you guys think PayPal pumped Bitcoin like it a lot last year, wait till you guys see what Apple's going to do. But if you're obsessed with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency like me or want to learn about it, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I'm planning to do a live stream every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 and would love to have you guys get involved. If you're already currently here, go ahead and participate in the live chat. I'm trying to start a community here. But let's go ahead and get right into it. Fed Powell says Bitcoin is more of a substitute for gold than the dollar. And this is actually great news for Bitcoin because it was never designed to be a fiat currency. And the way our current economy works is off of a debt-based economy. And Bitcoin is hard money. You cannot create it out of thin air. There's an exact amount. When things are going south, like what the pandemic did, you can't just decide to print or mine more Bitcoin. It will only be 21 million, and that's the beautiful part about it. But let's go ahead and see what he had to say. Work on central bank digital dollar continues, but there's no rush, the Fed chairman says. And I believe this is a mistake because when you are the leading world reserve currency of the world, it is your job to maintain that status because the world depends on us that our currency remains stable for them to do trade with us and other countries. So for them to say that, it quite shocks me because if you guys aren't aware of, in China, they are already implementing their own digital currency and they've been doing some trial runs and they're having a lot of success. So one of the things he said was that crypto assets are highly volatile and therefore not really a useful as a store of value. They're not backed by anything, neither is the dollar, Jerome Powell, and they're more of an asset of speculation. It is essentially a substitute for gold rather than the dollar. And I actually agree with him, and that's a good thing because look at this. If this is a substitute for gold rather than the dollar, let's go ahead and pull up this page right here. The dollar is floating right around $11 trillion market cap. Bitcoin has reached above a trillion dollar market cap. And if it is going to replace or substitute it, we can see how the price can go exponential from here. So if we were to easily times 10, 52,000 times 10, we can see that price of Bitcoin reaching 520,000 per coin is a very realistic number. Okay, I see some people are here in the chat. Chris Cox was wondering, when you pay US dollar for Bitcoin, where do these dollars go? So a lot of people, they're using exchanges like Coinbase, which we're about to talk about. And this exchange has a stockpile of Bitcoin that they own. And when you send, let's just say $1,000, they hold on to that $1,000 and essentially they send you $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. The only problem is with Coinbase is that they hold your Bitcoin. So if you don't hold the private keys, essentially they're actually still holding it. So they have now your $1,000 and they still have that Bitcoin you bought. So just be cautious of that. All right. But yeah, as you guys can tell, if what Jerome Powell was saying is if this becomes a substitute for gold, Bitcoin has a lot of room to grow from here. And a lot of people now think, man, Bitcoin is so expensive. For one, you don't have to own a whole Bitcoin. You can own fractions of it. And as you guys can tell, we can see where the growth is going to go from here. One thing you might have heard is that Bitcoin is an asset that swallows up all other assets. And what they mean by that is when these companies like Tesla is starting to convert their cash reserves into Bitcoin, soon some of these other companies will. Bitcoin is essentially eating up all these assets as they have to reinvest their cash reserves in it. So it will soon be the number one asset in the world. But let's go ahead and go over one more comment that he stated. It's all an Illuminati scam. No, it's not. The thing is, we don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, and I think that's a good thing because he would be a huge target right now. And people even believe it might be a group of individuals that started Bitcoin instead of just one person. But this statement right here, it kind of gave me goosebumps. Because we're the world's reserve currency, because we're the world's principal reserve currency, we don't need to rush this project. We don't need to be first in the market, he says. And I disagree with you completely, Jerome Powell. This is, once again, if you're trying to maintain the dollar reserve status of the US dollar, it is our job to innovate and maintain that status. So with what China is currently doing with their own digital currency, they are threatening us. And the one thing I want you guys to be aware of, don't always listen to what they say, listen to what they do. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, as he's saying, we're in no rush. Right now, MIT is working on the digital dollar as we speak. So they are going at it with full force. We got some of the smartest and brightest people trying to develop the new digital dollar. And this quote is powerful. Empower individuals by making it as fast and easy to move value across the world as it is to move information. And that is what we are going to do, is we're going to create a new digital dollar that won't compete with Bitcoin. And that's the beauty of it. You know, it's going to be a substitute for gold. So like I said, don't always listen to what they say, just follow what they do. They're doing a lot of things behind the scenes. One of the best apps for cryptocurrency, which I was going to talk about, is Coinbase. I've been in the crypto market for some time now, and I've used multiple exchanges over the past 6 years, from Kraken to Bitfinance, and there was one called Polynox, which isn't too familiar right now. But after using all these different exchanges, I've came to the conclusion that Coinbase is the most consistent, and you can trust them at this point. They're the most reliable. When I've used some of these other exchanges, I've came into some issues where I try to move some money, and it would take hours, if not days, to move funds. And when you're trying to move funds on Coinbase, they usually do it as fast as they can, if not instantaneously. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was this Coinbase direct listing that's going to happen next month. If you guys weren't aware, they were trying to do an IPO earlier this month, and they decided to delay it. There's been a lot of speculations as to why. They delayed it, and they had to pay some fees and whatnot. But this is going to drive the price of Bitcoin through the roof, because a lot of the institutions that buy Bitcoin use Coinbase. It's the most reliable exchange that people use, and big institutions are doing it. And as I scroll down, I'm going to show you guys the institutional trading volume that happened over the years. Institutions started to dip their toes into cryptocurrencies, and as you could tell, they started with this 11 billion purchasing, and as the years progressed, it started to die down. And this was a lot when the crypto market itself started to die down. But as you guys can tell, over the years, as we start to get into 2020, institutions are starting to buy more and more. And towards the end of last year, they bought up to $57 billion. I'm quite fascinated to see what quarter one of 2021 is. And I truly believe it's easily over $100 billion, because now you have companies like PayPal that's buying Bitcoin from Coinbase. Tesla bought their Bitcoin through Coinbase, if I'm not mistaken. And a bunch of other institutes that want to get into Bitcoin are using the Coinbase platform. So once this does go public, and retail investors and whatnot can now be able to get involved in it without having to buy Bitcoin directly, this is going to drive the price of Bitcoin through the roof. And I don't like to necessarily give price targets, but to be on the conservative side, I do think $100,000 Bitcoin is a very realistic number this year. I've mentioned that number many times. It could go higher, and especially with more institutions getting involved. And if retail demand spikes through the roof, who knows where this can go too. So exactly, James. When Coinbase goes public, it's going to go parabolic. Like I said, because Coinbase is the most reliable exchange that people use, this is important. And this also gets so intertwined because Coinbase is the ones that they support if created the US dollar coin, which is a stable coin. And what Jerome Powell was saying is that they're not worried about Bitcoin. It's these stable coins. Stable coins are an improvement over crypto assets, but their credibility comes from being backed by sovereign currency. So when one USDC is backed to one US dollar, it creates that transparency, which they're, like I said, the MIT people are getting themselves into. So another thing I also want to talk about, let's see if someone's talking in the chat. So, as crazy as this sounds, Chris, I believe that, and there's a lot of speculations that aliens came to Earth and created Bitcoin and gave it to us, because if some of you guys watch Rick and Morty, the next advancement to becoming a first world civilization is first world money. Like the first world form of language has been now English. It's been, by 2021, we have came to the conclusion that English is now the type 1 language on this planet. And if we can create a type 1 money, I think maybe aliens have given us this technology to get us quicker there, because all these fiat currencies like the US dollar, the peso, you name it, it's all fake trash. And Bitcoin is real money. And there's a chance there is some correlation to this. So it's funny you said that, and I've been hearing all types of things. But another big driving force and why that Bitcoin could be on another massive bull run is these Bitcoin options are about to expire here at the end of the month. And this is the highest amount it's ever been, is at 6 billion. And when they say these Bitcoin options, that's basically what these people are trading Bitcoin, trying to make money on it, the price going up or down, and they're all about to expire. And when they expires, the there's a good quote down here somewhere. After a very large expiry, the market is down and in the short term free to move again. And given that we are in a broader bull market, price appreciation is the more likely outcome at the moment. However, the bigger the crypto market becomes, the more correlation it builds with various market segments, making it less predictable. So at the moment, like I said, there's a lot of driving forces on how we're going to get right back into that bull market. And another thing I want to talk to you guys about, like I said, I've been following the market for many years. I truly believe one of the things that really sparked this bull market last year, which were a lot of things, I believe when PayPal announced that they were going to allow 286 million people on the planet access to the ability to buy cryptocurrencies with Bitcoin and some others, this was one of the most bullish news towards the end of last year, because we've been trying to find ways to have people have access to buying Bitcoin, and a lot of people are cautious on using some of these exchanges, because I'll be honest, what the hell is Coinbase if you've never been in cryptocurrency? And even when you do find out, you're cautious on using it. But everyone knows what PayPal is. It's been around for, there it goes right here. I was about to look it up. Almost 20 years. And because of that, people can trust it. So if you've currently been using PayPal, it gave 286 million people the ability to have access to it. And the market started to explode. And if you guys think that was a big moment that made Bitcoin go through the roof, what do you think 1.6 billion people that use Apple products, when they have the ability to integrate Bitcoin into their lives through the swipe of their thumb, using their eye technology instead of all these lengthy passwords, and with Apple Pay, it's going to change the world. And this is where I said Jerome Powell was wrong, and this is why Apple's number one and they get things right. You have to be at the forefront of innovation. Apple Pay has been revolutionary, and Google Pay is still catching up to what they're doing. And if Apple wants to stay ahead of the game, they have to be the first to innovate this into their wallets, to where users can own Bitcoin interchange it for fiat currencies, which might then be stable coins like USD, or just use the dollar at the moment, and be able to essentially spend their Bitcoin by not actually spending the Bitcoin. Because the argument you constantly hear is that Bitcoin's too slow, it costs too much for the transactions. And you're 100% right. It's actually not feasible to use Bitcoin to buy a cup of coffee, to buy gas or groceries. But if you own, let's say, $1,000 of Bitcoin, and you interchange that for $500 in US dollar coin, it's all US dollar coins, the stable coin, all the transactions happen instantaneous. It's the same thing. You just transfer it to another form of currency, and now you're spending that currency, which is a lot easier to use. And then let's say you don't use all that fiat currency, then you can reconvert it back into Bitcoin, which is a good thing because then Bitcoin's price appreciates over time. So I truly believe Apple's doing some things up their sleeve. Right now, they're going to be at the forefront of augmented reality with their glasses. Google tried it, they failed. Snapchat, they're doing some things, and I mean, you see all the filters going on, that's augmented reality. So Apple is going to be at the forefront of this, and they're going to put the United States at the forefront of cryptocurrency, and it's going to change everything. And I'm just excited. So let me go ahead and, well, of course, the PayPal news is old, but I just kind of wanted to relate it to what if 286 million users made the market pump up, and this is good, I can actually kind of go back. So if 286 new potential users, let's see, let's go over a year time frame. And that was around August. If it made the price around, let's say 13, 12,000, pump all the way up to 20-some thousand at the end of December, 30-some thousand, what do you think 5-6 times the amount of new users is going to do to the price of Bitcoin? It's going to send it parabolic. And one of the things, if you guys aren't aware of with what's going on in the news with Tesla and Apple, like I said, Tesla's trying to, they have these satellites that he's trying to give internet access to anyone and everyone in the world. And like I said, I'm always thinking next level. How is this going to be able to interact with everyone? So anyone and everyone now has a smartphone. Technology is getting cheaper. If we're going to have massive internet to where some of the remote people on the planet all the way in the Himalayas can have access to internet, and they have an iPhone, which is using a Bitcoin wallet, it's going to change the world. And I'm excited. Who knows what's going to happen? And let me hear your thoughts on some of these things with Bitcoin. I'm going to read the chat because I'm kind of curious on what you guys have to say. But soon, I'm going to be talking about VGX token, my thoughts on it. I've been invested in it for the last 4 months, had over 10,000 VGX tokens, and I'm not too happy about it. So, man, so what regulations could be on the horizon for Bitcoin? Man, so that's one that I'm currently looking into because some of the largest asset managers like Ray Dalio, they are being threatened by what's happening right now because all their assets are pegged to the US dollar. And if inflation is higher than, if you guys are really following what's going on in the market, inflation's higher than 10%, and if some of your assets aren't appreciating faster than that, you're essentially losing money. So people have been looking for alternatives, which they have been doing, and that's the reason why Bitcoin is at 51,000. And speaking of the price of Bitcoin, the price is cheap. In my other videos, I talk about the new floor for Bitcoin being that 54,000 price point, because that $1 trillion market cap has been put into our minds that this is money. And right now it's cheaper than that. People are buying it. Yes, they are trying to suppress the price, but people realize that this is not going anywhere. So some of the regulations, some countries are banning it. Some want to have it to where they call it KYC, know your customer. So if you're dealing with anyone that is using cryptocurrency, they want to make sure that you actually know the customer and it's not just this address with a bunch of letters and numbers, because they want to have some transparency in this. And they understand that Bitcoin can be used for illegal activities, as anything can be, but the more transparent that it is, the more that people start to accept it. Because in Bitcoin's earlier days, during the Silk Road, People thought it was just used for something to buy drugs and all these other things, but as the market has matured, as this asset class has now reached over 10 years, people started to realize that this is potentially the new internet of money, the new form of money that the world needs. And reaching that $1 trillion market cap also has sparked regulators too, James. So it's a lot of things. I'm not quite sure what they're trying to do. In fact, this is a great way for me, the next video, I would like to cover that. So a good question. So to begin with Bitcoin, you really want to understand what is Bitcoin, and I'll post something in the video on once you understand the technology, you want to get involved, because most of us weren't educated on money. And if you ask the average person, would you rather be holding on to an asset that depreciates over time? So like, let's use $100, where every year that $100 depreciates 10%, where it has less purchasing power. Or would you rather be invested into something that appreciates over time, where it will have more purchasing power? And this is a great way for people to store their wealth. And what fiat currency has been forcing people to do is, as fast as you're getting it, they want you to spend it. You've been hearing some people, because these stimulus packages haven't been stimulating the economy like it should, they've been wanting to issue out debit cards to where you might have to spend it within the next 90 days where the funds expire, essentially forcing you to use these funds. So if you're wanting to save for a later point in your life, you have no choice, because those funds are going to be gone. So you have to purchase whatever you can or need, or essentially what they want you to. So Bitcoin gives you that freedom from separating yourself from this debt-based fiat system and holding on to your wealth and building it. This is what gold was, and that's why people owned gold, because they knew as fiat currencies like the US dollar depreciated over time, gold would hold its value. And that was a very important thing. So, all right, let's go check out what else is going on. So there is always risk when investing into Bitcoin. In fact, you have to be willing to lose everything when you invest into this, because this asset class is as volatile as it gets. It's still in price discovery. So whatever amount that you invest into Bitcoin, if you invest $1,000, you must be willing to lose all of it. But the best part is, because of its volatility, this asset class can change your life if it becomes what I truly believe it is. And as the market cap for Bitcoin has appreciated over time, the risk has actually gone down. So, great example, reaching this $1 trillion market cap has put that idea into people's minds that Bitcoin is money. Companies are starting to accept this. This is something that, in Miami, we plan to attend the Bitcoin conference that they have there later this year, but Miami is starting to accept Bitcoin into their city. They're starting to potentially pay its employees in Bitcoin. This asset class is going nowhere, and if you can see the big picture, it's becoming more integrated into our lives. And like I said, when we start using Apple Pay and all these other things, it's going to be so seamless, because when you swipe that plastic, you don't know exactly what's going on. You just know when you swipe that plastic, it works, you move on, ding ding, and then just move on with your life. And they're going to get it to where using the technology with Bitcoin and other crypto assets is going to be the same thing, where it's going to be just as easy. So yeah, just like I said, this is riskier than stocks, and whatever amount you put it into it, it's be willing to lose it all. But ask yourself, what are you willing to risk to be financially free? And when I first got into this asset class, that answer was everything, because I didn't have much. And when you look at what's happening, it's like the system is rigged. It's not for you. Like I said, all these big time players are feeling threatened, like Ray Dalio, and they want to change the rules because the little guy is finally starting to rise up. So it's important for us to get more involved into this, because this asset class is not going anywhere. But let's go ahead and go into the next segment, which I wanted to talk about is Voyager coin. So this Voyager token was something that I got involved earlier around December, and it a lot of good things have happened, but I came to the realize that this could potentially be a pump and dump scheme. And there's so much going on with it. With it's basically a new exchange. And this is also another exchange if you're looking at to purchase crypto assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some others. But what I was really wanting to get at is that I don't think that this company knows what they're doing with their token. And let me explain why. When you look at this picture here, when I first started to get into the token, they talk about their loyalty program, the Explorer, the Navigator, the Voyager. And as you could tell, as you move up in the loyalty program, you get better rewards. And at the time, Voyager was less than $1 per coin, and they didn't have it to where you had to own VGX to become a Voyager member. You could just own a total amount of crypto of 25,000, or if you own about 12,000 VGX, you can earn these benefits. Well, the thing is, they are trying to have the users be more in control of what's going on with their program. So a lot of the people that were, a lot of the investors were going, hey, how is my VGX token supposed to appreciate if you're not forcing its users that want to be Voyager members to own VGX? They could essentially own any cryptocurrency and become a Voyager. So the CEO, I mean, it's crazy that they couldn't figure this out to begin with. Oh man, you're right. We need to pump this up so you guys can, make a shit ton of money. So what they then did, they changed their whole loyalty program. So around February, they changed the whole thing. So at the current time, they were telling, I was only getting about 3% interest, which wasn't really good compared to some of the other utility tokens. So the users were like, we need a better interest rate. We need a better interest rate. So they then respond with, we're going to give you guys 7% interest. Well, at the time to become a Voyager member, it was less than 10,000 VGX. And it was a lot of money at the time. And this is where this whole pump and dump scheme I'm starting to realize is that they're just trying to make people buy more and more VGX coins so then you can still maintain the status of your program. So when I had over 10,000 VGX and then the price pumped all the way up to $4, they then decided around February, hey, you have to have $20,000 coins to be a Voyager token. Well, at the time, that was almost about $40,000. So they just changed their whole thing, changed these interest rates, their whole thing. They're clueless on what they're doing with their program. And then now we're into March after they said this. We're into March. When you actually go on their app, the interest rate is 5%. So they're changing things constantly. I wouldn't be surprised if they then do a token burn to then increase the price. Like I said, this company has left a bad taste in my mouth. I'm not happy with the token itself. I believe it's borderline useless. And like I said, the platform is really good. Like I actually enjoy using it more than Coinbase. But it's like I said, this token, just be careful. And if some of you guys that might have crossed this video that wanted to see what I had to say about Voyager, just like you guys, I was looking at YouTube and seeing some things, and be careful because some of these channels are bringing the CEO on and a bunch of high-level people, and they're all just circle jerking each other. Oh, VGX, the CEO's on here. Yeah, VGX is good. Even though every time you refer someone to the VGX token, they're getting waitlisted. They can't even get on the goddamn platform. So just be careful because, like I said, they really just be careful out there. But I'm just going to go ahead and look at the chat and see what some of you guys have to say, answer some questions, and let's see what we got. So yeah, some of the same indicators from the 2008 crisis are repeating themselves right now, but honestly, I think the whole world has gotten together and they collaborated on just printing more fiat. So the United States isn't the only, and this is why it's also important to follow world news. The United States isn't the only country giving out stimulus package. The whole world is. And some are doing it packages bigger than us. And most of them aren't. But like I said, the whole world is in on what's happening. They realize that if we stop printing this fiat at this rate, the whole system's going to collapse. But essentially, like I said, you can just keep printing this whole debt-based fiat currency to oblivion. And they're going to. And once again, like I said, by Bitcoin reaching $1 trillion market cap, it has threatened them. So, all right, guys. Well, I want to go ahead and if you guys have any other questions, let me know. Because, like I said, I really believe that I covered a lot here. And there was one more thing I did want to talk about. It's just not quite clicking at the moment. But like I said, guys, this is my crazy theory on everything. So I actually called my brother up about like 3 months ago, and I was like, look, man, Tesla's going to start buying Bitcoin. We're going to go to the moon. We're going to start doing all these crazy things. And I have this theory that if you want to get to the moon, it's going to cost you 1 Bitcoin. Look into what Tesla's doing right now. Most companies that accept Bitcoin, they instantaneously convert it right back to fiat currency, because that's how they run their business. Because, I mean, let's be honest, to buy anything in this world, you got to use US dollars. What Tesla is doing is such a groundbreaking thing. They are not only accepting your Bitcoin to buy a Tesla, they're keeping that Bitcoin in Bitcoin, and they're holding on to it. And they see the big picture on how everything's going to be priced in Bitcoin. And if you want to leave this planet, it's going to cost you 1 Bitcoin. There's only 21 million. So, were you going to be lucky enough to be one of those? Let me know. Also, guys, like I said, I enjoy doing this. Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30. Leave your questions and comments down below. Let me know what you guys think the price of Bitcoin is going to be at the end of the year. I like to hear your thoughts.